Begin the current Daf, Masechta Shabbos Daf Zayin. Begin on the last line on the Vav Mebez. As we promised, we'll do over the Gemara from the previous Daf from Amamar. Our shiur is co-sponsored by Kalzach and Yecheskel, Torah Anytime, and Daf HaChaim. We'll continue to examine what we mentioned in the Brisa regarding the Arba Rishuyas, the four domains of the halachas of Shabbos. We speak about that of Rishus HaYachid, Rishus HaRabim, Carmelis, and the Mokum B'Turah. So the key topics we can discuss in today's daf is that of a bika. A bika is open fields that the Brisa considers that as a carmelis. We're going to discuss that dimensions of the bika. Some of the more in-depth discussions we're going to have of carmelis is that which has some of the characteristics of Rishus HaYachid and Rishus HaRabim. It's somewhere in the middle. It's areas that people don't usually travel in. Hence, it's not going to be the Rishus HaRabim. What's the minimum size of the area of the carmelis and the height of its airspace. We're also going to discuss the Chayrei Rishus HaRabim and Chayrei Rishus HaYachid, which means, say, if you have a Rishus HaYachid and you have indentation or hollow spaces in the wall, what's the halacha with those extensions of the Rishuyas? Are those considered like the Rishus HaYachid and the Rishus HaRabim or not? So we begin the daf on the bottom of Vav Mebez, where the Gemara was asking the following question. We quoted the Brisa that says that the sea and the bika and the istavanis and the carmelis, they're not like Rishus HaRabim, not like Rishus HaYachid. So that the Gemara asked, really, is open fields not like Rishus HaYachid or like Rishus HaRabim? We're learning the Mishnah Masechtas Tires. I'm just reviewing those last few lines where we got up to, that the habika, the open fields, there's a difference between the summer months and the winter months. That's in regards to the laws of Shabbos. Why? Because by Tumah has to be, if you want to consider as what quote-unquote a Rishus HaYachid, it has to be a private area, because we learn out the laws of Tumah from that of Saita. A Saita is a suspected adulterous woman. She has to be really secluded, like we know from the laws of Yichud, where something inappropriate might have happened. It has to be that no one's going in there. So that's going to be the case in the winter months. No one's going in the field in the winter months because it's planted, and you can't walk over there. It's going to get ruined. Now, regarding the summer months, so then people will walk on the field. They'll go on the side, not the public, but they'll walk there. So then for the laws of Tumah, it's going to be like Rishus HaRabim. But for the laws of Shabbos, the bika, says the Brisa, says the Mishnah Masechtas Tires, is always going to be considered as a Rishus HaYachid. It's a private domain, says the Gemara. But you told me that it's a carmelis, so how can you tell me that it's a Rishus HaYachid for Shabbos? So that the first answer the Gemara gave, Ula said that the truth is that it really is a carmelis. Why we're calling Rishus HaYachid is because it's not a Rishus HaRabim. We're just coming to contrast it because as the laws of Tumah was either Rishus HaRabim or Rishus HaYachid, so for Shabbos we're calling Rishus HaYachid, but really it's not a Rishus HaYachid, it's really a carmelis. That was answer number one. That's where we get up to now. Rav Ashi Amar, he says, as a continue of Zayin Amud Aleph, he says, Kagoin de Islam Mechitzas. The case that we're talking about over here in the Mishnah that describes it in Mishnah Masechtas Tires, that describes it as Rishus HaYachid, is talking about that there's walls. Now that's the interesting chiddush that the Mishnah is coming to tell us. Although it's surrounded, these open fields, it's more than two saw, a very large area of land. And it's not walled in for dwelling purposes, for residential purposes. Meaning to say, let's say his house wasn't there before you surrounded it with walls. So regarding the laws of carrying, actually, it's like a carmelis, as the Gemara says in Eruvin. You're not allowed to carry more than Dalet Amas. However, biblically, we consider it as the Rishus HaYachid. And someone that's going to throw from Rishus HaRabim into that enclosed area, imagine a park. Think of a park when you're thinking about what we're describing right now. It could be walled in, but it's not walled in for residential purposes. When you throw from Rishus HaRabim into that park, you chayiv midayraisa for the biblical malacha of haitzah. You transferred from Rishus HaRabim to Rishus HaYachid. Although it's a carmelis in the sense that you can't carry over there. So says the Gemara, when did we call this bika, the open fields, as a Rishus HaYachid? Well, didn't you tell me it's a carmelis? When did we say it's a carmelis? When it's unwalled. When we said when it's walled in, then actually it is biblically considered as a Rishus HaYachid. As the Gemara says, that he says that it is considered a wall to call it a Rishus HaYachid. It's just lacking what's called dira. It's not for residential purposes, therefore rabbinically you're not allowed to carry over there. Now, although Rashi forewarns that in that Mishnah we said it's Rishus HaRabim L'Tumah, how could it be Rishus HaRabim in the summer months? That's because there's openings over there and people could come in and go out, as the Brisa teaches in Eruvin, when you have a courtyard that people come in and out. it's like a Rosh Hashanah for Shabbos because it's walled in, but for the laws of Tumah, since people come in and out, we said for Tumah it has to be that no one could come in and out because it has to be totally secluded for the laws of Tumah, then there would be Rosh Hashanah. If not, it would consider it as Rosh Hashanah. But what's Rabbi Yechanan's teaching is the Gemara brings as follows. It says Karpov is a large fenced-in area that's Yesim Beis more than 2 saw. Shaloi Hukaf Ladira, again, it's like a park. It was not closed in for residential purposes. Then Vafila Kur, even if it's an area of a Kur which is around 30 saw, Vafila Kuraim, or even double that amount. So it's a very, very large fenced-in area. Hazarik L'Taicha, if someone throws something from Rosh Hashanah into that area, Sachayiv is going to be liable, and that's actually the halacha because it's Rosh Hashanah. My time, what's the reason? Because Mechitzihi, ultimately, this is a fenced-in area. Elish Mechuser is the urine, it's just lacking residence. So therefore, yes, we're going to consider it a Carmelis, because you're not allowed to carry in over there. But the Mishnah over here in Tyrus that's calling it Bika as a Rishus HaYachid, as a private domain, is because it's fenced in. Biblically, that fenced in area, since it has Mechitza, has walls, is a Rishus HaYachid. You're not allowed to carry simply because it has an appearance to be like a Rishus HaRam, because it's not for residential purposes, but it's considered a Rishus HaYachid. So now the Gemara asks on both these interpretations. And now we have 2 different interpretations that we're discussing over here in the Gemara, when although we said a bika is a Carmelis, then we have a Mishnah Masechtas Tyrus that calls a bika Rishus HaYachid for Shabbos. Why is it called? That's what one interpretation from the previous stuff, that's Rav Ashi that said it's just to emphasize that it's not a Rishus HaRam, but really it's not a Rishus HaYachid, it's just a Carmelis. Or we had Ula's interpretation that says, we're talking about it is surrounded with a wall. It's just not for residential purposes, and therefore we're going to consider it as a Rishus HaYachid because it's walled in. It's just like a Carmelis because you can't carry over there. Says the Gemara Bishlam Rav Ashi. We understand Rav Ashi. Lo Amar Kuda Ula. Rav Ashi didn't say like Ula because ultimately that how are you going to go ahead and call it a Rishus HaYachid because it's not a Rishus HaRabim, but at the same time neither is it a Rishus HaYachid. So then we could understand why he was not going to say like Ula. Actually, I think over here, it's the wrong words over here. Where is this? No, Ula, yeah, it's wrong. It's Rav Ashi is supposed to be Ula and Ula is supposed to be Rav Ashi. That we could understand why Rav Ashi wouldn't say like Ula, because you can't tell me that it's just to emphasize that it's not a Rishus HaRam, then don't call it a Rishus HaYachid, call it a Carmelis. So therefore, that's why he doesn't like the first answer the Gemara gave. Ula, but Ula that he said, why are you calling Rosh Hashanah because it's not Rosh Hashanah? My time, why didn't he say, like the other interpretation, that there's walls, so it's a bona fide Rosh Hashanah, and he should go Kishmaiti like his own teaching? Who did we quote when Rav Ashi came to give the second answer in the Gemara? He says, it's talking about that it's closed in, it's a karpa more than Beis Hasayim. It was Ula in the name of Rabbi Yechanan. He said when you throw from Rosh Hashanah into that enclosed karfa, you're going to be chayev. Why didn't he himself say like his own teaching? Again, the wording here on the slide is incorrect. The first answer to the Gemara was Ula. The second answer to the Gemara was Rav Ashi. Rav Ashi, when he based his answer, was based on Ula's own teaching, that a karfaf that was shloi hukav ladira is considered Rishus HaYachid. So why didn't Ula himself say like his own teaching? That it should be in enclosed area, it's a Rishus HaYachid, and therefore we're calling it Rishus HaYachid. So Amalach, he would tell you, no. If it's like the way Rav Ashi is saying that there's walls, you're right, then that would be the halacha like he's saying. Then bikka karila, how could you call it a bikka? A bikka is when you have open fields. Karfafi, that's going to be a closed an area of fields, and therefore you can't call it a bikka. If it's a bikka, you have to say like my answer, that it was the only reason why I called it Rishus HaYachid, because it's not a Rishus HaRabim. The truth is, it's not a Rishus HaYachid, it's a Carmelis, we're just not calling it a Rishus HaRabim, but he couldn't say that other answer, although halachically it sounds, because that's his own teaching, but you can't call it then a bikka, you'd have to call it a karfaf. Now, but Rav Ashi, he would tell you that no, Rishus HaYachid Ketani, ultimately he doesn't like his answer, that of Ula, because ultimately we call Rishus HaYachid, and you wouldn't call it Carmelis as Rishus HaYachid, and therefore you cannot say the way Ula had said it, and therefore that's the reasoning for their different interpretations, how to resolve the Mishnah in Masechtas Tyrus. They were calling Rishus HaYachid again, either that it's not Rishus HaRabim, or they were talking about Karfaf Shlohukaf Ladira. Now we continue with the Bryce that we mentioned on the previous Daf, our Carmelis. We said, after we mentioned all the different cases of the sea and the bench area, so he said Var Carmelis that it's not like Rosh Hashanah, Rosh Hashanah. So asked the Gemara, Atar Kuli Nami. What do you mean? All the cases you just described in the Brisa of the sea and the Bika, like we just mentioned, and the bench area, Lav Carmelis, and are they not Carmelis? Isn't that the case of Carmelis that we're coming to explain? Is this third domain that is not Rosh Hashanah or Rosh Hashanah that you can't carry from there to the other places? Obviously, that's the third domain. Why are you mentioning the word Carmelis? Isn't this the same thing? Why would you mention the word carmel? These are descriptions of carmelis. So says the Gemara, Ki Asr Avdim Amar Rabbi Yochanan, he says, you're right. Loi nitzchu, we didn't have to say the word carmelis, ella, because we wanted to add on another case of carmelis that wasn't explicitly mentioned, which is Likeren Zavis, that is a corner that's abutting Hasmuch L'Rishus Haram, that's near the Rishus Haram. It's coming to tell us a chiddush. Although ultimately, if it's right off the street, sometimes people push and they go into that area from the house that's a little recessed off the street. But but since it's not so convenient to walk over there into that area, you can't go in so direct. So therefore, ki carmelis we consider like a carmelis. There's two interpretations of Rashi. Either it's talking about the way the visual has it over here, the picture, it's a little bit recessed, or that the house is, when it calls it Keren Zavis, the house is on a diagonal. Instead of everyone having their house perpendicular, flush with the Rishus Haram, this guy made his house on the corner. So either way, when you're coming by his house, it's a little more difficult to walk in those areas. So that's what we're coming to tell you, that it's not going to be considered as a Rishus Harabim. That's going to be considered what we call Keren Zav. It's going to be considered as a carmelis. And so too continues the Gemara on the same theme. Ki Asr Avdim Amar Rabbi Yochanan. This is similar halacha again from Rav Dim name of Rabbi Yochanan. Bein ha'amudim, in the area between the pillars, which was in the street, the merchants would have pillars where they would hang their merchandise on it. And they would also have, as we're going to shortly explain, what's called itztabais, benches where the merchants would sit on. So nidun kekarmelis, so the area between the pillars is considered, says Rabbi Yochanan, like a carmelis. My time, what's the reason? It's the middle of the street. Yeah, because avagav the dartzi barabim, although the public walks over there, kivin dole mistagilu behedya, since you can't walk straight over there. The pillars are there in the length and the width, and they're not straight. You can't just walk straight. You have to walk in and out, so it's not so convenient to walk. So kekarmelis dami, that we consider as a carmelis. We cannot consider that as the biblical Rishus Harabim, because it's not the hiluch of the rabbim going through it. Now, similarly, Amar B'Zera, Amar B'Yehuda, he says, even itztaba, shlifnei hamudim, even the block that's in front of the pillars, that's also needed a carmelis. Actually, that's the hadlach l'maisa, that we also consider that as a carmelis. Says the Gemara, lamanda bein hamudim, according to the one that says, it's not even, actually, it's only. Because as the Gemara is explaining right now, lamanda bein hamudim, according to the one that says that between the pillars the carmelis, kolshkin itztaba, for sure the itztaba is not Rishus Haram, because it's much easier to walk between the pillars than it is to walk by the bench area, because you can't walk through there at all. You can't walk, you have to go totally around it. Lamanda me'itzva, according to one that says, which is his last opinion, that the bench area, the blocks that they would sit on, is a carmelis, yeah, itztabahu delei nichatash mishte. Only by the blocks it's not convenient to walk over there. But between the pillars, the nichatash mishte, it's easier to utilize the area over there. I mean, the block, you can't do anything over there. It's a big block. So that you can't consider as a Rishus Haram. It's totally like in your way. But the beams, okay, it's just hanging stuff, so it's not so convenient to walk, but you could still walk over there. So it's easy to utilize the area. Then we did not consider as a carmelis, rather it's going to be a Rishus Haram according to that opinion. Or Lishnachin, a slightly different version, says, it just ends off the sentence a little bit different. Between the pillars, the zimnin de darsi l'rabim. The first version was saying that it's convenient to utilize the area. The second version is saying, yeah, because between the pillars, that sometimes the public walks over there, Rishus Haram, it's going to be considered like Rishus Haram, and therefore that's the differences of these two different opinions, that is it only by the itztaba, or is it even by the area that's between the pillars, is also going to be considered as a carmelis. Now, the Gemara continues with another similar halacha, that you could have something in the street, but it's not like the street itself. Just like we just said that you have these poles and these blocks, that it's in the street, but it's not like the street. Now we have a similar halacha. Rabbi Barashil, Rav Chizdi says, levena, a brick. Now generally the bricks, in Talmudic times, the length and the width were 3 tfachim, and the thickness didn't have a measurement. Some were more thicker, some were thinner, but again, the length and the breadth were 3 tfachim. So you have this brick that's zekufa b'Rishus Haram. It's standing up in the public domain. B'zarak, a person throws v'tach b'fanel, and what he threw, let's say he throws a sticky fig or a piece of mud, and it sticks on the face of the brick. Chayiv, he's chayiv if he threw dalal amas in the Rishus Haram. Why? It's like he picked it up, that's akira, and when it sticks on the face of the brick, it's like it was placed in Rishus Haram. Why? Because anything that's beneath 10 tfachim is considered Rishus Haram, as long as it lands within 3 tfachim from the ground, that's karka. Or even if it's in the ear space, like in this case, where it's attaching itself to like the face of a wall or of a brick, as the Mishnah says later on the Kufim Adav, if someone throws 4 amas on the wall, if it's within 10 tfachim from the ground, it's like you threw on the ground, you're going to be chayiv. Because although we say that's something that's within 10 tfachim, lower than 10 tfachim and 4 tfachim wide, it's a carmelis, and when it's not 4 tfachim wide, it's a makom p'tura. How are we saying over here, which not this case directly, because we're going to say this is less than 3 tefachim. But the case that we're comparing this to, Rashi, is let's say you have a wall. We're going to learn about a lot of these cases. That's 10 tefachim. It's a wall in Rosh Hashanah. And you throw it to Al-Ramis and lands on the wall. The Mishnah later on says if it's within 10 tefachim from the ground, not just 3, 10 tefachim from the ground, it's like you threw it in Rosh Hashanah. But why is that the case? If that area is within 10 tefachim, let's say that wall, it's not higher than 10 tefachim, and it has an area of 4 tefachim wide, and it's a carmel, it's less than that, it's a makam tur. How could you say it's Rosh Hashanah? That says we're going to explain in literally the next case, as you could even see in the slide. That's when it's in a distinct area, like on top of the brick, or on top of a wall, or on a beam, which that's a significant place. But the ear space, like the surface of a wall, is something that it's attaching to. That's not considered its own domain. Rather, since it's in the ear space of Rosh Hashanah within 10 tefachim, that would be considered a bona fide Rosh Hashanah. If it's above 10 tefachim, so then the public doesn't go over there. That's just what's called makam tur, as the Mishnah says. Above 10 tefachim is like throwing in the ear space, and you're going to be pater. So in this case, it'd be right. Again, another error in the slide that you're going to have to report back to. That we're talking about it's Daled Amos and Rosh Hashanah. That it could be Rosh Hashanah technically also, because you're then doing Haitzah.
You don't need them both.
Right, you wouldn't need to have Daled Amos and Rosh Hashanah. Yes. So we're talking about if you throw and it sticks to the face of the surface, so chayiv, you're going to be chayiv. Now, al gabah, but if it lands on top of the brick, then pot, you're going to be exempt. Why? So the Gemara explains right now. Abaye v'Rabbi Damet Abaye, they both explain. V'usha gevaya shleisha. We're talking about the brick, as we just explained before, is a height of 3 tefachim. Where the public doesn't step on something at 3 tefachim high, so it has its own distinct area, so it's not a makam hilach harabim. So therefore, it's a makam tur. You didn't throw into Rosh Hashanah, because only within 3 tefachim do we consider it as Rosh Hashanah. Above 3 tefachim, people don't step on that, and therefore we don't consider it as part of Rosh Hashanah. It's going to be a makam tur. Now, aval hizmi, but let's say brambles, vehigi, and thorn bushes, which are certain types of thorns. Avagav dulegvi shleisha. There it says the Gemara, even though Abaye and Rabbi say, even though it's not 3 tefachim high, it's still going to be considered an exempted area on its own. Because even though it's less than 3 tefachim, people don't walk on thorns; they don't want to get hurt. So that's not going to be considered Rosh Hashanah, even less than 3 tefachim. Now, but however, Chibarav Amar, he disagrees. He says, no, afila hizmi vehigi. He says even the thorn bushes, people do step on them with their sandals. So therefore, you do need it to be 3 tefachim, not to be Rosh Hashanah. I would say, but excrement, which even though it's not 3 tefachim high, then people don't step on excrement, and therefore, even though it's less than 3 tefachim, it's going to land on the excrement, you're going to be pater. But actually, the halacha follows the last interpretation. Rav Ashimi says, no, afilat even excrement, if it's less than 3 tefachim high, it's going to be considered like Rosh Hashanah, and therefore, if someone would throw Daled Amos and it landed on the tzaya, he would be chayiv because that's considered part of Rosh Hashanah. Now we continue to the next halacha. Going back to what we're describing from the Bika, we were describing from the Brisa, the third domain of the Carmelists. Amar Rabba. The Bei Rav Shila, Rabba from the Yeshiva of Shila said the following halacha. He says, again, Ki Asr Avdimi, these are old teachings when Avdimi came. Amar B'yechanon, he says, in Carmelist P'chusam Arba. A Carmelist is not less than a width of 4 tefachim squared. Because if it doesn't have 4 tefachim, then it's going to be a makam tur. It's going to be, if it's 3 by 3, it's an exempted area, and even like a tchil, you're allowed to take out from there from Rosh Hashanah to Rosh Hashanah. It has to have an area of 4 tefachim squared. Now, Ramav Sheshes, he adds on one more condition. He says, b'tefeses, and it reaches in its height ad asara, up until 10 tefachim, which the Gemara is going to explain right now. What does this mean? My b'tefeses ad asara. What does it mean that it reaches up until a height of 10 tefachim? Elam, if you think it means the ikam mechitza asara, that if it has a wall 10 tefachim high, hu dahab a carmelist, only then is it going to be considered carmelist. For example, what would that case be? Let's say you have, as we described in the top of the Amid, large fields that are surrounded with the wall. That's more than 2 sa, but it wasn't surrounded for residential purposes. So then we're going to say that area is rabbinically forbidden to carry, as we mentioned before. Only if it has a wall 10 tefachim high, then it's going to be considered as a carmelist. But v'ilo, if not, lo have a carmelist, it's not going to be considered carmelist. Carmelist has to have a wall that's a height of 10 tefachim. Says the Gemara, v'lo, it's not a carmelist if it doesn't have a wall of 10 tefachim. But v'amar Rav Gidlam Rav Chia Bayis Amar, he says bayis, a house. He says the following case. Says she'im b'toiche asara, a house that in its height doesn't have in its interior 10 tefachim, but the kiruya, the thickness of the roof, mashlim asara, it supplements, it completes it for a height of 10 tefachim. So then you have the following halacha. Al gagai, on the roof, which has a height of 10 tefachim, that's going to be considered Rosh Hashanah, because again, it's 10 tefachim over the street. So therefore, mutal talta b'kulei. On the roof, you're allowed to carry in the whole roof because it's a Rosh Hashanah. The taichai inside the house, you're only allowed to carry within Daled Amos, because since the walls are not 10 tefachim high inside you only have a height of 9 tefachim, so this inside is a carmelist. So obviously you see the exact opposite of what you said. Ella rather says the Gemara, Ma'ivit tefeses ad yud. What does it mean that it captures up until 10 tefachim? The ad yud hu dahava karma, to the contrary, that up until yud tefachim, it's the other way. It's not like you need a wall of 10 tefachim high. No, that the ear space of a bika or the sea or a karfa, if that's more than 2 saw, the way it has the title of a karmelis is only going to be up until 10 tefachim. But lamalam yud tefachim, above the area of 10 tefachim, then loy have a karmelis. Then it's not going to be a karmelis. It's not going to have the designation on the ear space that to be considered as a karmelis by something that you don't have a distinct area, like we said, if it hits the surface of the brick or the surface of a wall, or if you gather from the airspace above 10 tefachim, then you're allowed to go ahead and carry likatchila from there to Rosh Hashanah to Rosh Hashanah, because the title of a karmelis is only in the airspace up until 10 tefachim. Above that, it's going to be considered as it's not going to be any more stringent than that of Rosh Hashanah. Now, it says the Gemara, it says, Shin, the sharp one, you should not be involved in the topic of Shabbos, above 10 tefachim. So that's the question which is going to ultimately prove the same point that we're saying, that for a karmelis. Because as the Gemara discussed, what halacha did he say? That the airspace is only up until 10 tefachim. If you think it means the Rishus HaYachid, that you don't have the private domain, that let's say in your courtyard, the airspace is not Lamal Miyud, it's not above 10 tefachim, rather let's say in your house, above 10 tefachim, meaning let's in your courtyard that's surrounded. It's going to be a makam tur, and it's going to be bottle, even to Rosh Hashanah, that you could carry above 10 tefachim from your house, let's say to Rosh Hashanah. But Rav Chizdi says not like that. He says, no, it's kan. If you stick in a pole, which in general, that doesn't have the thickness of 4 tefachim, it's not 4 tefachim wide. If you stick a Rosh Hashanah in your private domain, Bizarak, and you throw from Rosh Hashanah Nachal above, and it lands on top of that pole, even if it's 100 amas high, chayiv, you're going to be chayiv. Because the reason why you have to have the case of the pole, because it has to land on something. So it's like it landed on the ground. But the thing is, you don't have to have it landing on a makam down Rosh Hashanah, as we learn later on Daf Ches. We see why you chayiv. What do you mean? It's not within 10 tefachim from your yard, from the ground of the yard. Because Rosh Hashanah goes all the way up until the sky. All the airspace above your house, above your private area, is considered as the area of Rosh Hashanah. So you can't tell me that for Rosh Hashanah the airspace is only up until 10 tefachim. So we continue to tell me base. Oh, Ella, rather what are you going to say? The ain that we're going to say that you don't have the airspace of Rosh Hashanah, that Rosh Hashanah doesn't go above 10 tefachim. The airspace above that is a makam tur. Says the Gemara, that's neat in here. That's the Mishnah. Why would you need Shmuel to tell you this halacha, a sharp one, don't teach above 10 tefachim? It's a Mishnah that did not, like in the Mishnah later on of Kufim Amar Aleph. It says, Zerg Dalet Ames. Someone throws Dalet Ames in Rosh Hashanah, and it sticks b'kaisel. This was the case like we were talking about before. It sticks on the wall. For example, let's say a sticky fig, as the Gemara is going to explain later on. Lamalam yud tefachim, above 10 tefachim, is kizarik ba'aver. It's like you threw in the airspace, you're going to be exempt because it didn't land quote in Rosh Hashanah. It's also not Rosh Hashanah because it's only something that has a distinct area that's 4 tefachim wide. So it sticks on the wall above 10 tefachim, like you threw it in the airspace and you can be patur. Lamatam yud tefachim, beneath 10 tefachim, is kizarik ba'aretz. It's like you threw it on the land, which actually that's the halacha, and therefore you're going to be chayiv because in the airspace of Rosh Hashanah, at least when it landed, it's going to be considered a landing because you can't compare it like we said before when it lands on a distinct thing. Let's say on top of the brick, we said you're going to be chayiv. That's because you're going to be putter over there because it's a distinct area on top of the brick. But if it's in the airspace of Rosh Hashanah on the side of something, so then we're going to view it as if it's within 10 tefachim. It's in Rosh Hashanah, and then you're going to be chayiv. But one thing is that you see from that Mishnah that we already know Rosh Hashanah. Why would we need Shmuel to tell you that above 10 tefachim you're going to be a makam Torah? The rather Gemara proves it's going our Carmelis. Like we said before, it's going the Carmelis. They in Carmelis Lamalam Yud, that the Carmelis is not above the airspace of 10 Tefachim, it ends over there by 10 Tefachim. So the Gemara explains. The Kilaba Rabban, because the Rabbanan, they were lenient. This going back on both teaching of Rav Dima and Rav Sheshes. The rabbis were lenient by the laws of Carmelis. Since it's only a rabbinic violation, it's only a rabbinic area, so they were lenient Mikul Rosh Hashanah from the leniencies of a private domain, or Mikul Rosh Hashanah from the leniencies of a public domain. Rav Dimi was coming to tell us the leniencies of Rosh Hashanah. Just like Rosh Hashanah is not going to be less than an area of 4 by 4 tefachim, and someone that carries from Rosh Hashanah into, if it's less than 4 tefachim, is going to be pater. It's not even going to be, so too by a Carmelis, it also is going to be permitted if it has less than the area of 4 by 4 tefachim wide. So too Rav Sheshes, he taught us from the leniencies of Rosh Hashanah, that just like Rosh Hashanah doesn't go higher than the height of 10 tefachim, as we learn in the Mishnah Daf Kov, so too the Carmelis also is limited to an area of 10 tefachim. So as the Gemara explains, Mikul Rosh Hashanah has the leniency of Rosh Hashanah the Ikem Mokamar, but only if it has an area of 4 by 4 Tvachim squared, Hudav Karmelis. Only then is it Karmelis, like Rosh Hashanah. V'loifna Makam Turbamu, it's an exempted area. And it also has Mikuli Rosh Hashanah, has a leniency of Rosh Hashanah, that Yud Tvachim Hudav Karmelis. Only up until 10 Tvachim is a Karmelis, L'malam Yud Tvachim, above 10 Tvachim, L'ab Karmelis, not a Karmelis. And that's what the Karmelis is, this in between area, which is rabbinic, and then we get the leniencies of both these halachas. Now, Gufa, we go back to the halacha we mentioned before. A house that doesn't have an ear space of 10 tefachim, it only has a height of 10 tefachim. And the roof is a thickness of a tefach. So we said, al gagay, on the roof itself, you're allowed to carry on the whole roof, because although it's not, let's say, surrounded with walls, we're going to learn about this Shabbos and Erev, and we view the walls as if it's what's called good asik, as if the walls are going up, because it has an area of a height of 10 tefachim, and these are walls, so the walls continue to go up. So on top of the roof, you could carry because it has a height of 10 tefachim. It's considered like a Rosh Hashanah. But however, inside the house, you could only carry within Dalet Amis because it's a Carmelis. Inside, you don't have walls of 10 tefachim. There are walls, but not in the house it's only on top where the roof area is. In your house, there's no 10 tefachim. Now, Amabai, but he qualifies. He says, but let's say you go ahead and you'd start digging inside your house in the middle, a dalet al dalet, an area that's 4 tefachim squared in the length and the width, v'shlimoy, and then now here in this area where the digging was, you now filled it leyud. Now it has a height of 10 tefachim all the way till the roof. Mutal talta bekul, you're allowed to carry now in the whole house. Because my time, why are you allowed to carry in the whole house? I understand over here you have a height of 10 tefachim, but what's with over here on the sides of the house? How can you carry over here? Here you don't have a height of 10 tefachim. Says the Gemara, because Haba, now the whole house becomes what's called chayru Rosh Hashanah. It's the crevices of the private domain, meaning just like when you have walls of a house, of Rosh Hashanah. The walls that are facing Rosh Hashanah are like Rosh Hashanah itself. Here also, these areas off to the side, they're really part of Rosh Hashanah because since this is Rosh Hashanah, these are considered the chayri Rosh Hashanah. These are like the cracks in the walls that are Rosh Hashanah, and therefore it's going to all in the whole area allowed to carry because the cracks, the crevices of Rosh Hashanah is like Rosh Hashanah, and that's what these would be considered like chayri Rosh Hashanah. Ditma, like we learned in this halacha, chayri Rosh Hashanah, the walls, the cracks of Rosh Hashanah are considered Rosh Hashanah dami according to everyone. But however, chayri Rosh Hashanah, when you have the crevices in the wall facing Rosh Hashanah, now we have a machlekes. Abaya Amar, he says Rosh Hashanah, it's considered like Rosh Hashanah, which is a similar idea. Rav he disagrees, and actually halacha follows like him lav Rosh Hashanah, it's not like Rosh Hashanah, it's rather like its own domain. So the cracks in the wall facing Rosh Hashanah, if it's 4 tefachim wide, then it's a karmelis. If not, it's a makam tur, but it's not like Rosh Hashanah. On that, Amalei Rabbi Abaya. So Rabbi asked on Abaya, Lididach, according to you, Rosh Hashanah, you say the cracks in the wall facing the street. It's Rosh Hashanah, dummies like the street. So Maishna Mehadchi Asar Avdim Rabbi Yechanan, which we mentioned previously. We said Loi Nitzchacha. We said on Amen Aleph, why did the Brisa say the word karmelis again another time? We said they're all cases of karmelis. Oh, we said it's El Keren Zavas Asmuch L'Shus Harab. We said what's the case he's coming to conclude that's going to be considered as a karmelis? It's considering the case that you have the house that's abutting the Rosh Hashanah. Since it's not so easy to walk over there, you said it's going to be considered as a karmelis. Says Rabbi Tabaya, but according to you, it shouldn't be any less than the cracks in the wall facing Rosh Hashanah. Then why is it a karmelis? It should be Rosh Hashanah. You say cracks facing Rosh Hashanah is Rosh Hashanah. So why is that case that we said is coming to include karmelis? Is the case of that it's Keren Zavis? Isn't that the same thing as Chayr Rosh Hashanah? It should be considered Rosh Hashanah according to you. Says Abaye, no, he says Hasam over there, by the case that we have in the picture by Karen Zavis, it's not convenient to walk over there. It's hard to, you're going to walk inside to get those kids, they jump on the ledges and they come back down. Who walks like that? It's not easy to walk like that. So therefore that's a karmelis. Over here by the Chayr Rosh Hashanah, the cracks in the wall, it's a convenient utility that the public will use a crack facing the street. That's like Rosh Hashanah, but the Keren Zavis is not going to be considered as a Rosh Hashanah. It's going to be considered like a karmelis. Now, the Gemara asks, however, another question on the bites. Now, we learned in the Mishnah later on the Kufam and Alf. Hazar Dalet Amis. If someone throws Dalet Amis by Kaisel on the wall, Lamal Mayud, like we mentioned this before, if it's above 10 tefachim, Kizarg Ba'ab, it's like you threw in the ear space. Lamat tefachim, if it's within 10 tefachim, so then it's part of the ear space of Rosh Hashanah. Kizarg Bar, it's like you threw it on the land. We had asked, what does it mean like you threw it on the land? But what does this mean? It didn't land is Rashi's, Rashi explains the Gemara. The Gemara is assuming when you throw something and on a wall, it bounces back. So it actually bounces back within Dalet Amas. So obviously if it's hitting the wall, it's going to bounce backwards. So how can you say you threw it on the land Dalet Amas? You didn't throw Dalet Amas. I threw exactly Dalet Amas and it hits a wall. It's going to bounce back. So it never landed Dalet Amas. How am I chayiv for throwing on the wall within 10 tvachim? It didn't go Dalet Amas. Well, Rabbi Yochanan explained. We're talking about a sticky fig. Sticky fig will stick. So it went Dalet Amas, didn't bounce back. Now, on that, ask Rabbi Tabai like this. If you think to say that the cracks in the wall is like the Rishus Ram itself, why did Rabbi Yochanan have to explain the case? When you're throwing Dalet Amas on the wall, it's by a sticky fig. Let's talk about a pebble, an object, and it landed in the crack in the wall. You tell me the crack is like Rishus Ram. If it's like me, that I say a crack in the wall is not like Rishus Ram, obviously you couldn't say that case. But why do you have to say sticky fig? Say there's a hole in the wall, and he threw it and it landed in the crack. Then, according to you, that would also be throwing Dalet Amas in Rosh Hashanah. So says the Gemara, Zimna Mishanala, sometimes Abaye gave the answer, Shani Tzor V'chayvetz. No, the case of the pebble and the object you're trying to say is different, because the Mahadav Asi. No, when you have a hole that has a wall, even so Rabbi Yochanan did not want to say that it landed in the crack, because it's not, there's a reason why when you go to Six Flags and you get like a huge teddy bear, when you throw it into a little hole, because it's not so easy to throw it into a hole. It's not normal that you're going to throw something, he's going to land in the hole. It's likely going to bounce back. He didn't want to say the case by that because the Mahadav Asi is going to bounce back. Zimdim Mishnah, sometimes he gave the other answer. He says, no, actually, because less bachor. The case is talking about here in that Mishnah that the wall doesn't have a crack. Mimai, how do I know that it's talking about that it's no crack? Mediktani Reishim, the fact that the first halacha said, Zork l'malam yud tvachim, if you throw it above 10 tvachim, is kazork ba'abitz, like you threw it in the ear space. Now, if you would think to say, because less bachor, that was talking about a wall that has a crack, so then a mic is zork ba'aver, why if you throw it above 10 tvachim? And you say, not that it's a sticky fig that's stuck to the wall, but that it is a crack and it landed in the crack, then hanach b'chor, so it's landing in the crack. The difficulty with this is that it's going from Rishus HaRabim to a Rishus HaYachid, because you're saying it's above 10 tvachim, and its own domain, because it's in the crack. So that's actually Rishus HaYachid. Because as the Gemara says, V'chitem, if you're going to say that Masnitin, that the Mishnah is talking about the less bedu dalad, no, it's not Rishus HaYachid, it's an exempted area. Because although it's 10 tvachim high, it doesn't have an area of 4 tvachim squared, and therefore it's not a Rishus HaYachid. But Rabbi Yehuda says, no, actually it is a Rishus HaYachid. Why? It's Zark l'malam yud tvachim. He says if you throw above 10 tvachim, it lands in even a small little crack. We come to the Machlekes Rameir Rabban Masechtas Yoma regarding the laws of mezuzah. Rameir Saba, he holds something that doesn't have the requisite measurement, but it has a thickness and a width that you could carve out to complete the measurement. We say as if it is carved out, and therefore let's say for the laws of mezuzah, although let's say the dome doesn't give you the full dimensions of a mezuzah, which it has to have a certain opening for the measurement, but you could carve out from the wall and you would have room to make. He says it's like you had the airspace of the opening to make a mezuzah over there. So therefore, in our halacha to Rameh would hold chaykin lahashlim, that although there's a small little crack, but you could carve out and you could complete the area. And the halacha generally follows a stam mishnah, which is the mishnah Daf Kov, would be like Rameir. Rabban Sabri, they hold no in chaykin lahashlim, that you don't carve out to complete. But one thing is that you see that even if there was a small little crack above 10 tzvachim, that would be considered as the area of dalal dalad, because you consider as like if you carved out the area and you could clear away and you would have dalal dalad. So obviously we're talking about a case because it's less before that's no hole, because if there was a hole, then you wouldn't be considered throwing dalal amas from Rishus Ram. It would actually be from Rishus Ram to Rishus HaYachid. So obviously because the case is a sticky fig and it landed on the surface of the wall, that's why when you threw it above 10 tvachim, it's going to be pater, not like you threw in your Rishus HaYachid, and that's why you pater l'mal miyud. When you throw it beneath 10 tvachim, the reason why you chayiv is because it's stuck to the surface. Why didn't we say a hole in the wall, like Abaye said, that would be considered almost like Rishus Ram? You couldn't, because it's talking about that it's a wall that doesn't have a hole. How do we know there's no hole? Because then above 10 tvachim, you actually would be chayiv, because you would have been throwing from Rishus Ram to Rishus HaYachid, because we go like Rameir, Stam Masnit Rameir, and that's an anonymous mishnah, would be like Rameir, that holds chaykin lahashlim. So even though there's no dalad dalad, but you could carve out, he says we consider like it is the area of dalad dalad. Therefore you'd be chayiv for throwing from Rishus Ram to Rishus HaYachid. Now, Gufa, the Gemara goes back to discuss what we mentioned before. We mentioned in passing, Amr of Chizli says, no, it's kind of Rishus HaYachid. If you stick a reed, a beam, here's Rishus HaYachid. Bizark v'nachal gabav, and you throw it lands on top of that in the Rishus HaYachid. You threw from Rishus Ram to the Rishus HaYachid on top of that. Even if it's 100 amas high, chayiv, you can be chayiv. Why? Because it doesn't make a difference how high it is. Because the Rishus HaYachid, we say, goes up all the way up to the sky. So you threw from Rishus Ram, it landed in Rishus HaYachid, although it's 100 amas high, you can be chayiv. Says the Gemara, Lema, let's say that Rav Chizda is the Amak Rebbe, that it holds like Rebbe, who doesn't require hanacha, a placement, on a makam dalit. The time like learn the brisa. Zark v'nachal gabi says kosher. If someone throws something, it lands on a small protrusion. Now the Gemara assumes at this point he means to say from Rishus Harabim to Rishus HaYachid. Rabbi Mechayiv, Rabbi holds you chayiv. V'cham say you're going to be exempt. Alma, so you see, loy bein makam dal. You see that according to Rabbi, you don't need a makam dal in the Rishus HaYachid. And that's going specifically like Rabbi, right? Because Rabbi's saying a small protrusion doesn't have dalad. You don't have to have a hanach on a makam dalad. Isn't that what Rav Chiz's halacha is going like Rabbi, not like Rabbanan? Says the Gemara, as a getin type of chesam and alf. Abaye says, b'rishus hayachid, which is the case of Rav Chizda in a private domain, the kul amal pligi, no one's going to disagree. Because Rav Chizda, everyone holds like Rav Chizda that you don't need to have dalad tlachim. Even if it lands on this small kana, it's going to be considered as the malacha of eitzah, or actually of hachnasa. Elahacha, but over here, the machlekes they're having here in the brisa is a different case, and we mentioned this in the previous daf. We're talking about a tree that's standing in Rishus HaYachid, and the branch is sticking out into the Rishus HaRabim. And someone throws from the beginning of Dalad Amas to the end of Dalad Amas, and it lands on the branch. What's the machlekes? The Rebbe Sava, he holds Amrina, we say Shadi Neifei Basi Yikare. We view the branch as if it's connected to the root, to the trunk. So based on this, how Rashi understands, based on the trunk, we view as if the branch itself is a makam dal because we view it as part of the trunk. So although the trunk is the Rishus HaYachid, this is Rishus HaRabim, we view this as a makam dal. So that's why Rebbe would hold that you're going to be chayiv, because it's a makam dal in Rishus HaRabim. Rabban Sarbi, they hold, and actually the halacha falls like Rabbanan, lo yamrina shadi nefi basar. We don't say that we view the branch based on the trunk, and therefore they're going to say yapata, but actually there's another Gerson in Rashi that he brings that everyone disagrees with Rav Chizda, but the way our Gemara says it, everyone agrees to Rav Chizda. In Rishus HaYachid, you don't have to have a makam dalid. You could throw it on a pole, and the ear space of Rishus HaYachid goes up ad l'shamayim, and you don't have to have a makam dalid. This that we have machlekes Rebbe and Rabban, if a ziz kosher you can be chayiv or not, is a different case. It's talking about the trunks in Rishus HaYachid, the branch in Rishus HaRabim, and you throw it on the branch. Rabban say, okay, the branch doesn't have the makam dalid. In Rishus HaRabim, you have to have makam dalid. You're not going to be chayiv. But the Rebbe holds you see the branch as if it's part of the trunk. Oh, that's a makam dalad. They're going to be chayiv for transporting dalad amas in Rishus HaRabim. Some ideas we spoke about today in Shabbos Daf Zayin. Nope, not this one. Was that we continue with this theme regarding a bika. We said that one of the cases of a carmelis is open fields. That's a rabbinic area. It's not Rishus HaRabim because the public doesn't walk over there. It's not Rishus HaYachid because it doesn't have the requisite walls, it doesn't have the residential area, so it's like a carmelis. On that, it's the Gemara, but we learned in the Mishnah that said that it's a Rishus HaYachid for the laws of Shabbos. So is it a Rishus HaYachid or is it a carmelis? So on that says the Gemara a second approach. First, the Gemara said, which was from the previous daf that we said, that you're right, it's not Rishus HaYachid. We're calling it Rishus HaYachid just because it's not Rishus HaRabim. But really, it's a carmelis. The second answer the Gemara gave was that it has walls. So since it has walls, biblically it's going to be Rishus HaYachid because it's surrounded with walls. The only thing is, since it wasn't walled for residential purposes, so it's like a carmelis that you're not allowed to carry over there because it's lacking dwelling purposes. But for carrying, for transporting, for transferring from Rishus HaRabim to there is going to be the malacha of Haitzah. Now, the difficulty with this is that if there's walls, it's not a Rishus HaYachid. I mean, it's not a bika. It's going to be considered a karfif. A karfif is an enclosed area for non-residential purposes. You're calling it a bika. A bika is open field. It's not fenced-in area. So the Gemara says that, continuing to the next Gemara, and that was the machlekes that we had between the Rav Ashi and Ula, that's why they disagree with each other. He didn't say like him because how can you call it Rishus HaYachid? It's really a carmelis. And he says, how can you call it a bika? It's really a karf. So those are two different interpretations. What's the case of how we're calling Rishus HaYachid the Shabbos? You're right, it's not Rishus HaYachid, it's a carmelis. Either we're calling it Rishus HaYachid, not Rishus HaRabim, or we're calling it Rishus HaYachid, it's talking about that it was walled in. And therefore, we're calling it for that purpose as a Rishus HaYachid. Then we say, why does the Brayta say Vaha Carmelis? Aren't all the other cases also Carmelis, the sea and the bika and the bench area? Yes, coming to include another case of Karen Zavas, a Smuch L'Rishus HaRabim. When the house is a little recessed, that area where then the public could walk over there, it's not so convenient to walk over there. Therefore, we're considering that as a carmelis. Some say that even the area between the beams that the merchants sell the merchandise is also, although it's in the street, it's not so easy to walk over there. They also consider that a carmelis. And also the itztava is a carmelis because it's not so easy to walk over there. They hold that it's only by the itztava, and they would disagree. They would say bein amudim between the pillars actually would be like a Rosh Hashanah. We spoke about a case of a brick that's standing up in Rosh Hashanah, and you go and you throw and it sticks. So there's two cases. If it sticks on the surface, you're going to be chayiv because you threw Dalet Amos in Rosh Hashanah, and it landed in the airspace of within 10 tefachim because it's not a makam mesuyim, it's on the side, it's not a distinct area. We can't view it as a makam p'tur or as a carmelis because that's only on the thing itself. Landed on the side, so we view it as if it's in the airspace of Rosh Hashanah, you're going to be chayiv. If it landed on top of the brick, you're going to be patur because on top of the brick, as Abai and Rabbi both explain, we're talking about a height of 3 tefachim. People don't generally walk on things that are 3 tefachim high in the street, so we view it as its own area. Its own area, it's a makam p'tur, it's a 3 tefachim in a height and the width in Rosh Hashanah, so it's going to be a makam p'tur, so you're going to be exempt. You didn't do a forbidden transfer in Rosh Hashanah. Now we had a machlekes regarding hizmi and higi, regarding thorn bushes. Would you be chayiv even less than 3 because people don't walk over there? So therefore, would we consider that as a carmelis, or would we consider that it's still within 3 tefachim? People would step on it with their sandals. Therefore, would be considered as Rosh Hashanah. Because the machlekes regarding excrement, would that also be even less than 3 tefachim? Because people don't want to step on excrement. Ultimately, the Gemara conclude even by excrement, if it's within 3 tefachim, we consider that as Rosh Hashanah. So we said that a carmelis has from the leniencies of Rosh Hashanah, which is that it only goes up until 10 tefachim. Whereas Rosh Hashanah, like we said, by Noat's Kana, if you stick a pole in Rosh Hashanah, even up until 100 amis, 200 feet into the air, that's considered Rosh Hashanah. But the carmelis has the leniencies of Rosh Hashanah that only goes up until the airspace of 10 tefachim, and it also has the leniencies of Rosh Hashanah that just like Rosh Hashanah has to have at least an area of 4 tefachim squared, or else it's small, it's a makam tur. So too, the carmelis cannot be less than 4 tefachim in the width. Then we spoke about a house that inside you don't have a height of 10 tefachim. The roof itself is a tefach, so the top of the roof makes it the height of 10 tefachim, and that's the thickness of the roof. Inside the house, you only have a height of 9 tefachim. So he said, inside you could only carry Dalet Amos because it's a carmelis. Carmelis you could only carry within 4 amas. Now, on the roof, we said, however, you could carry even more because that's 10 tefachim. But let's say you carve out an area in the ground of the house. You excavate an area of 4 tefachim squared. Now you're allowed to carry in the whole house. Why? I understand the area that you carved out, you have a height of 10 tefachim. Why the sides? The sides don't have a height of 10 tefachim. That's what's called chay Rosh Hashanah. It's the crevices of Rosh Hashanah, which has halacha like Rosh Hashanah. Now, we're machlekes, but however, by chay Rosh Hashanah, if you have a wall on the side of Rosh Hashanah, those walls, if you have cracks in them, that way the machlekes Abai and Rav, if those are considered like Rosh Hashanah or not. Now, we had a difficulty. According to the one that says like Rosh Hashanah, why when we had Vaha Carmelis, we said it's coming to include. What's a Carmelis that we didn't mention, like the sea and the bench area, is when you have Karen Zavas, Asmuch Rosh Hashanah, when you have that house, either on the diagonal or it's recessed from the Rosh Hashanah. You're saying, oh, that's what we're coming to include, that's like a Carmelis. Why is that a Carmelis? Why is that any less than Chay Rosh Hashanah, like the crevices of Rosh Hashanah, which you say are considered like Rosh Hashanah? So that says the Gemara, no, because it's not convenient to utilize the area of a house that's recessed. Who's walking over there? Like we're walking straight, and we're going to go here to make some room and continue walking, go back. It's not easy. The Chay Rosh Hashanah, there it's easy to use it for what you want to use it for. You want to keep something in there, that's Rosh Hashanah, but actually the Karen Zabas is like a Carmelis. Another question we had a Mishnah on Daf Kuf that says, if you throw 4 amis in Rosh Hashanah and it lands on the wall, above 10 tefachim, we said, is like throwing in the airspace. Beneath 10 tefachim is like you're throwing it in the ground of Rosh Hashanah, because it's within 10 tefachim, because the height of Rosh Hashanah goes up to 10 tefachim. It's like you're throwing it in the ground. The difficulty is, but it didn't land. It came back. When you throw something in the wall, it bounces back. Oh, so Rabbi Yechon says that we're talking about a sticky fig. Sticky fig will stick, and therefore it landed. You went through 4 amas and it landed. The question is, according to that mandam, the whole Chay Rosh Hashanah, just say that there's a hole, there's a crevices in the wall, and it landed in the wall, because he's saying that the hole in the wall is like Rosh Hashanah. So that one answer was that no, that it's different even by a pebble you're throwing into a crack, because you're not going to get into the hole. You're not going to get that big teddy bear. It's going to bounce back. So therefore, we didn't want to say such a case. Or because we're talking about a wall that doesn't have a hole. How do we know that we're talking about a wall that does not have a hole? The proof was from the Reisha. We said that if it's above 10 tefachim, it's like you're throwing in the ear space. If there's a hole in the wall, why is it like throwing in the ear space, but it landed in the hole? Oh, what do you mean? You're going to tell me that the hole doesn't have dalet adalet? I mean, if you're throwing in a hole above 10 tefachim, that's Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah has a height of 10 tefachim, and it has an ear space of 4 tefachim wide. So you tell me that above 10 tefachim your patrik is not Rosh Hashanah. Okay, you didn't do dalet Rosh Hashanah, but you threw into Rosh Hashanah. You should be chayiv. Oh, you're going to tell me no, because it's less than 10 tefachim. It doesn't make a difference. That's an anonymous Mishnah. An anonymous Mishnah is going to be like Remeir. He says, chaykin lahashlim. If you have room to excavate, we view it as if it's already cleared out. So therefore, you would be chayiv for transporting the Rosh Hashanah. Obviously, you're talking about that there's no hole, and therefore we couldn't say, yes, Chay Rosh Hashanah is Rosh Hashanah. We couldn't say that case because it doesn't have a hole. Then we said the teaching of Rav Chizda that says that if you stick a rod in Rosh Hashanah, like we said, and you throw it and it lands on top, even if it's a height of 100 amos, you're going to be chayiv. Says Gemara, let's say that's only like Rebbe, because we had a machlekes in the Brayso. If you throw it and it lands on top of a protrusion, Rebbe holds you're going to be chayiv, Chum say you're going to be potter. Seemingly that's like Rebbe, who says you're going to be chayiv, even if it's on the small thing, that it lands on a small protrusion in Rosh Hashanah. Says Abaye, no, in Rosh Hashanah, no one's going to disagree that you don't need a makam dal. Everyone's going to agree to Rav Chizda. Their machlekes is by a tree that's standing in Rosh Hashanah, and the branch is sticking to Rosh Hashanah. The machlekes simply was, do we say shadin and knife basei yakar? Do we view the branch's dimensions as if it's the trunk's dimensions? The Rebbe holds that we do, and they're bringing Michayiv. Rabban say you don't, and they're bringing Bepata. But regarding Rav Chizda's halacha, in that everyone's going to agree that you don't have to have a makam dal in Rosh Hashanah. Thank you to any time for hosting us.